Our guest today has served as Alderman of the 42nd Ward for over 6 years. Prior to being elected Alderman, our guest today worked for Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan as a policy analyst and as communications director. Following his nearly 7 years in state government, he was tapped by AT&T to serve as Midwest Vice President of Public Affairs. At that time, our guest today was AT&T's youngest regional vice president. And on a personal note, I can tell you he gets very involved in the projects in the ward. And on the Wolf Point project, he really put his shoulder into it to make sure that there were jobs for Chicagoans and to make more than 1,000 people who could have perhaps left, which sometimes is a trend, stay in Chicago. Please welcome back to the City Club of Chicago, 42nd Ward Alderman, Brendan Reilly. Alderman? All right, have fun up here.
Thank you and good afternoon. Every year I'm fortunate to come and visit with all of you, give you an update on all the downtown goings-on. And when Jay Doherty first asked me to do this in 2007, he asked me to provide a State of the Ward address, how things are going in the 42nd Ward downtown. And admittedly, over the last several years, that discussion has morphed into more of a budget discussion, talking about pending budget proposals, the fiscal condition of the city, and some ideas of what might be done to change our trajectory. I'm not going to get into a heavy-duty detailed discussion of the budget proposal for 2014 for two reasons. First, the mayor has not yet presented his budget to the Chicago City Council. And rather than speculate on what that budget might look like and offer critique or praise, I think it's most fair to allow CFO Lois Scott and Budget Director Alex Holt to present that first. More importantly, there are so many exciting things happening in the downtown ward, in so many sectors of our economy. I thought that providing you with an update on all of that activity would be a more cheerful discussion than talking about our $339 million budget deficit. And so I think that's what we'll stick to today. The reason I love my job is because it's one of the most challenging jobs you can have in public service. For the past 6 years, I represented by far the most populous ward in Chicago and helped manage the home to the majority of city's economy and some 24,000 plus businesses. I know that the decisions I make as alderman can have a major impact on the downtown economy, and every day I must balance the needs of my voting constituents, who are my employers, against what is best for the greater good of the entire city. After running through an extensive list of new development and business openings and tourism records, I think you'll agree this delicate balancing act and my partnership with Mayor Emanuel is bearing some fruit here in the 42nd Ward. There are 3 exciting new innovation hubs centered in the heart of the 42nd Ward that I think have potential to dramatically change Chicago's economy for future decades. I think each represents an incredible opportunity to germinate and grow new industry and new well-paying jobs here in Chicago. The first is 1871, and I know that's not something that just opened this year, but they've enjoyed some real milestones this summer that I want to brag on. And thanks to the vision of folks like Kevin Willer and Howard Tolman and Chris Kennedy, J.B. Pritzker, and certainly Governor Quinn's support through a $2.3 million state grant, helped launch 1871, and it's really become one of downtown Chicago's exciting innovation success stories. The Chicago Entrepreneurial Center operates 1871, and the space is a relatively inexpensive, flexible workspace that allows tech entrepreneurs and digital startups to get up and running. It's a wide open floor plan that encourages collaboration and brainstorming, with ready access to a large pool of intellectual talent, know-how, and resources. It's home to hundreds of emerging small businesses, providing an excellent network of support, including access to high-speed data networks, accomplished business mentors, and a platform to pitch business plans to venture capitalists and other potential funders. The purpose of 1871 is not only to help grow startup companies in Chicago, it's also aimed at keeping those businesses and their intellectual capital here in Chicago. In July, Mayor Emanuel and Governor Quinn celebrated 1871's rapid success and announced the 6 companies housed at 1871 that raised $8.3 million in capital to fund their graduation from the facility. When these companies graduate, that's good news for downtown Chicago. They typically want to remain close to 1871 in the merchandise mart. You all know that Google Mobility, Motorola Mobility is there, and these are synergies that everyone wants to take advantage of. This helps explain the dramatic rise of a true startup community here in River North, housed among the many brick and timber loft buildings in this neighborhood. There's another very exciting initiative to spur collaboration and innovation in Chicago, and that's the Biotech Collaborative Center. Mayor Emanuel's vision to create a bioscience center is moving forward, and downtown Chicago's 42nd Ward will very likely be home to that facility as well. The center is intended to spur innovation by matching startups with large pharmaceutical companies and funders. This proposed 40,000 square foot biotech incubator is modeled after the 50,000 square foot facility at 1871 in the Mart. The biotech center would lease space to biotech startups and major pharmaceutical companies that often fund these startups to spark innovation and job growth. So far, about a dozen startups have expressed strong interest in joining the center. And the Chicago Innovation Mentors, a biotech collaboration of Northwestern, the University of Chicago, the U of I, and Argonne Labs, are also founding members of this center. An announcement on the location is expected very soon, and the center is expected to open next year. This is an exciting opportunity to attract new job creation and local investment to support an emerging industry right here in downtown Chicago's 42nd Ward. The third exciting initiative is something called the Energy Foundry. The Energy Foundry was created as part of the landmark Illinois Energy Infrastructure Modernization Act, that's a mouthful, to catalyze innovation and investment in the Illinois energy space. The next generation electricity grid, the smart grid, offers incredible new opportunities for entrepreneurs and innovators, and most importantly, creating new jobs. The Energy Foundry is a private, nonprofit impact venture fund founded primarily by Commonwealth Edison and Ameren. The Energy Foundry was created to invest, mentor, and provide strategic support to the next generation of energy tech companies. It's an early-stage impact venture fund created to support game-changing grid and energy ideas and to empower consumers to harness the benefits of the energy tech revolution. Illinois' billion-dollar grid modernization plan sets the stage for comprehensive technology development and deployment, especially for next-generation products and services that will enable an intelligent and efficient grid. Inventors, engineers, entrepreneurs, investors, and utilities will lead this energy tech revolution here in Chicago. Capital is an important bridge for early-stage companies, but energy tech inventions of this magnitude require strategic support and mentoring, as well as a platform to validate. The Energy Foundry is based on the thesis that building successful grid and energy technology companies requires a unique approach. This is why they've coupled their investments with integrated support tailored to the needs of these businesses. The Foundry offers all sorts of support, from proving grounds to an advisor network, advice on government funding, all the way to foundational partnerships for operational support. It adds value beyond investment dollars by coupling resources, advice, and expertise that early-stage energy tech companies need to get up, running, and be successful. I'm particularly excited about the Energy Foundry because I was appointed to serve on its board of directors last week, a few days after I was appointed to serve on the Illinois Smart Grid Advisory Council, appointed by Senate President Cullerton. In addition to these smart investments, forward-looking investments, we have an incredible amount of economic activity in the small and mid-sized business space downtown. Not many people know this. I'm not just an alderman, I'm also a small business owner. I'm one of the proud minority stake owners of Uncle Dougie's, a Chicago-based sauce company that produces all-natural, clean-label barbecue sauce, hot wing sauce, and Bloody Mary mix. So look for it at Whole Foods. I'm not here to sell you sauce, but it is worth mentioning we are the official sauce of the Chicago Cubs. So I guess I'm doing my small part to create some jobs here in Chicago, too. While Uncle Dougie's is located in the 27th Ward, you're welcome, Alderman Burnett, we have plenty of exciting new business moving to the 42nd Ward as well. I love ribbon cuttings, I love groundbreaking ceremonies, and I can tell you 2013 has kept me incredibly busy with oversized scissors and those goofy hard hats. I want to talk about some exciting new developments. I'm going to rattle through a very quick list, and then I'll talk in more detail about some of the larger scale projects. But I know Mr. Friedman's here, and you've probably all seen here in River North that triple hotel project that his team delivered, anchored by a Hyatt place. That's an exciting development for downtown, and obviously it shows you that we're making great gains in the tourism economy. I was fortunate to do a ribbon cutting celebration with Mayor Daley at the Hotel Langham, which has taken up a new home in the historic landmark Mies van der Rohe building, the IBM building on Wabash. We've seen plans for the Esquire Theater redevelopment on Oak Street come to fruition, and it's home to Del Frisco's, a very successful steakhouse. And I know that as they're populating their storefronts with unique and high-end boutique shops, that property's doing very well. We also had a wonderful celebration welcoming a new urban box, Walgreens, to the Loop, their new urban model for the country, and that was something that I attended with Mayor Emanuel and Governor Quinn. Protein Bar, a local Chicago-based company, as you probably noticed, is cropping up nearly every block downtown, and that's a tremendous success story as well. Crumb's Cupcakes, The Taco Joint, Howells and Hood, Stoughton Tavern, Jellyfish, Municipal, Vinyl Lounge, M-Burger, Epic Burger, Potbellies, Blackfin, American Junkie, Tanta, Bub City, Three Dots and a Dash, Sienna Tavern, Piccolo Sonio Due, Lao 18, The Local, Alpina Singh's Boarding House, Fig and Olive at the Esquire Theater, Bricks and Bomb, Tortoise Club at Marina City, CH Distillery, which is a unique business. It actually distills on-premise vodka, gin, whiskey, and rum, which sounds like Paul Green's drink order on a Saturday night. I owed you that one, Paul. And the list goes on and on. Mbeya, Lou Malnati's Gold Coast, Connie's Pizza, Chick-fil-A opened their second store in the Loop, and that's probably enough said. Ted Baker, Fry's, a number of tremendous retailers. Argo Tea is a particular success story. They've moved into Connors Park. For those of you not familiar with this space, it's a triangular park south of Mariano's Park, which is also known as the Triangle. This is a park that's been dilapidated and frankly not cared for decades, and it became a real problem for the neighborhood. It was routinely being a source of complaints for vagrants and drunken, disorderly, and all sorts of horrendous activities. And one day when Mayor Daley was driving by in his car, he saw lots of vagrants hanging out and drinking and doing all sorts of things. And he decided that he would eliminate that problem by removing all the benches in the park. And that worked for about a day. All of the vagrants came back and sat on the ground. And so we had to figure out another way, a different path to really get that park back on track. And that's when I suggested to the city that we pursue with the Park District a concession agreement to have a Chicago-based company with its reputation at stake to help take over stewardship of the park and to make physical improvements to it, secure it, light it, clean it. And Argo Tea answered that call. They were selected as the winning bid. And I think if you go by the park today, you'll see it's really a tremendous transformation. This was a place that the Chicago Police Department's mounted units used to deposit the contents of the manure bags in. And I can tell you the condition back then warranted it. But today, it really is an absolutely beautiful facility, and I'm thankful to Argo Tea for helping us get that park back in the shape it deserves to be in. One other exciting retail story actually hasn't quite occurred yet, but it's coming very soon. There's something called Eataly. This is a very successful business in New York City, and they'll be moving into the ESPN zone space just off Michigan Avenue. This is a roughly 60,000 square foot facility, and I'm told you can literally show up at 8 in the morning and leave at midnight, have 3 square meals, and do all of your shopping in a week. So this is something we're very excited about. It means a lot of jobs coming to River North, and frankly, a lot of revenue that the city sorely needs. In addition to all of this, I think Mayor Emanuel was smart to consolidate the many disjointed nonprofit and public agencies, literally dozens of silos, into one centralized organization to better support and promote Chicago's tourism and convention industries. After creating Choose Chicago, the mayor made smart choices for its board, and that board made a wise decision when hiring their CEO. Under the excellent direction of CEO Don Welsh, and with tremendous support from the Illinois Hotel Lodging Association and its members, Choose Chicago has racked up some very impressive accomplishments in a very short period of time. And because tourism has had such a significant impact on downtown Chicago, I'm going to take a few minutes to brag about our 2012 statistics and our incredible momentum in this space. In 2012, Chicago drew 46.37 million visitors, a new record topping the city's pre-global recession record of 46.29 million in 2007. This represents a 6.4% increase in total visitation over 2011. Chicago welcomed another important record, 1.37 million overseas travelers, moving Chicago from the 10th to the 9th most visited U.S. city by overseas visitors. That's a whopping 14.2% increase over 2011. We saw tremendous growth in two important visitor markets. Asia grew by 30%, and South America is up 18%. And this didn't just happen by mistake. Choose Chicago is working hard to win more international travelers and have opened 10 global offices over less than the last 2 years. Last year, Chicago's local economy benefited from record travel expenditures here, totaling $12.76 billion. Employment in the hospitality industry exceeded its 2007 peak, with 132,000 tourism-related jobs, with a record payroll of $4.44 billion. Not to jinx it, but Chicago's tourism industry is chugging along in 2013 as well. Hotel revenue in the first 7 months of this year set a record exceeding $1 billion, a gain of 8.4% from 2012. Just in the month of August, Choose Chicago booked for future years 76,000 room nights, over 42,000 attendees, and $72 million in projected visitor expenditures. This month of October, major groups are projected to spend roughly $200 million in Chicago, thanks in part to the Bank of America Chicago Marathon and 7 planned conventions. As Alderman of the 42nd Ward in Chicago's Central Business District, I'm also proud to report that all of these incredible statistics are being driven by the success of downtown Chicago. While Metro Chicago hotels climbed to an impressive 76.8 occupancy this past August, hotels in the 42nd Ward Central Business District saw an astounding 86.4% occupancy, besting both New York City and San Francisco that month. And to further support these excellent gains in the convention and tourism space, I'm working with Mayor Emanuel to help make some important strategic infrastructure investments downtown that will benefit the entire city's tourism economy for many years to come. One that you're probably reading a lot about is the exciting Riverwalk project on the south bank of the Chicago River. The mayor did an excellent job in securing a $100 million TIFIA loan from the federal government, and about a month and a half ago, Secretary LaHood came here to the Riverwalk to make this announcement. It's the first TIFIA loan administered to a major city in the United States, and I can't think of a better use for it. One of the ways we'll be supporting that loan is there was a recent rebid of all of the docks that the city owns along the river that the various boat operators use. Those docks hadn't been rebid in many, many years, and as you can imagine, the rate the city was receiving from those docks was artificially low. After rebidding the dock space, we captured a windfall, and those proceeds will be used to help support the debt with the TIFIA loan. It's truly a win-win. That work is out to bid, and we expect work to begin this spring. It's a very exciting, ambitious project. I think it really, truly will become the next Millennium Park for the city of Chicago. It's the one underutilized natural asset in Chicago that we haven't improved, and it's a fantastic link between the lakefront and the Central Business District, the Michigan Avenue Shopping Quarter, and the Loop. And so I'm very excited about all the benefits that project will deliver, not just downtown, but to the entire city of Chicago. We also have a very exciting park project in Grant Park, the northeast parcel. Maggie Daley Park is underway, and if you've taken a look, it's really an incredible project, absolutely huge in scope. And for $35 million, a new park will be delivered without any museums, and I think that's a good thing. It really is going to transform the visitor experience in Grant Park. Rolling hills, mature trees, climbing walls, a pirate ship for kids to play on, all sorts of exciting stuff. And it gives people a destination at the end of Frank Gehry's Bridge. And so I'm very eager to see that project delivered by the Park District. They've been doing an excellent job managing it. We also have made strategic investments in upgrading the Red Line stops. You've all seen the $71 million restoration of the State and Grand Red Line stop, which is really, truly a beautiful facility. And with your patience, we're now working to improve the Clark and Division stop, which has needed it desperately for many years. And so I thank President Claypool and the CTA for being such a great partner in that effort. Working with Governor Quinn and Mayor Emanuel, I'm trying to support the redevelopment of Navy Pier, and it's a very exciting project, and it'll be delivered in 3 phases. This is the state's #1 tourism destination, and the plan here is to turn it into a reinvigorated year-round destination, complete with a major expansion of the Chicago Children's Museum and future plans for a boutique hotel within the profile of the existing structure. You'll see an upgrade to the aesthetic. It'll become more green, and I think it'll have less of a carnival atmosphere and really serve more as a showcase of all the great things that make Chicago unique among major American cities. I think it is a good investment for the future of Chicago, and with some help, I think we can get this done in short order. And to make it safer and easier to visit Navy Pier and navigate the Lakefront Trail, I'm also working with the mayor and governor to build the Navy Pier flyover, a bicycle-only bridge running along Lakeshore Drive to separate bicycle traffic from pedestrian traffic on the sidewalks below. Yes, thank you. Commissioner Klein, Mayor Emanuel, Commissioner Klein, and his staff at CDOT have done excellent work in moving that project forward, and I don't have a timeline for delivery, but we're hopeful it'll be very, very soon. When I was elected back in 2007, certain downtown real estate developers predicted that I would be an anti-development, NIMBY-enabling, Dr. No when it came to large-scale development proposals. I've worked very hard to provide a transparent process when reviewing development proposals, proactively seeking constituent input through public meetings and other methods. I use that input to develop my negotiating punch list that I use to help shape these proposals to deliver public benefits like public open space, streetscaping, and infrastructure improvements that help address traffic concerns. Despite dire predictions that nothing would be built during my tenure, here we are in 2013, and man, things are humming. I'd like to give you just a quick rundown of some of the more notable projects going forward or about to be approved in this ward. You've probably seen along the river site prep and in some cases caisson work being done. There are 3 very exciting projects along the Chicago River corridor that I think will end up providing tremendous public benefit when they're completed. One project, which received a tremendous amount of media attention, was Wolf Point. We spent well over a year and a half negotiating with the development team, the architects, zoning attorneys, consultants, and especially the neighbors to really try and get that project right. It was an exhaustive community process. I received a lot of input, and I did my level best to address as many concerns as I could to ensure that that project, 1, would be deserving of its place on the river, and 2, would succeed once open and active. And again, I think one of the notable points on all 3 of these projects in the river I'm going to talk about is that when they were initially conceived, these were to be very minimal on open green space, a lot of hardscaping, a lot of retail opportunity, but not a lot of respite for people who live and work downtown. Wolf Point will deliver over an acre of public open space on that site, open to the public to be enjoyed by all. Down the river across the bank on River Point, this is basically a canal and Lake Street. Heinz Development is moving forward with a very exciting plan to deliver a commercial office tower there with a 1.5 acre public park decked over the railroad tracks down to the river's bank. That is also, I think, a great victory. The developer will be delivering a beautiful building, and I think we negotiated a site plan for that project that is going to deliver benefits for everyone for many years to come. And then just immediately south of Lake Street, along the river on the west side of the bank, we are still working through, but close to approving, a project at 150 North Riverside. Mr. O'Donnell and his development team have been working with my office for, again, well over a year and a half to get this proposal right. We've gone through probably, I don't know, John, a dozen iterations of that project. And I think now we're really going to be delivering a tremendous public amenity. In addition to a world-class building, there will also be an acre worth of open green space along the river there too. So while the city's been making some good strategic investments on the South Bank, leveraging federal grant money, I've been working hard to push the private development community to deliver these same benefits on the west side, west bank of the Chicago River. And I think we're making excellent progress. You may recall back in 2008, the City Planning Department also hosted a charrette with the ULI Institute to try and come up with a plan to transform 3 rather difficult blocks on Michigan Avenue. These are the blocks between Wacker on the north and Randolph on the south. And for whatever reason, this stretch of Michigan Avenue has never been as successful like its neighbor to the north across the river. And at the time, there were all sorts of creative ideas like knocking down buildings and putting up Spanish steps and creative lighting displays, LED, et cetera. All that came with a tremendous price tag to the city of Chicago, a price tag the city clearly can't afford. Working with developers and building owners, we are going to see this stretch transform without a tremendous amount of investment by the city government. There are some very exciting projects underway, and I will run down a quick list of those in this 3-block corridor. You may have read the Chicago Athletic Association is being repurposed from a social club into a beautiful boutique hotel. 333 North Michigan, Mr. Wirtz is undergoing a complete redevelopment of that structure, and it will really enhance the pedestrian experience and the retail experience on Michigan Avenue. Mr. Buck has a project, an exciting mixed-use development at 200 North Michigan, which will offer at-grade retail opportunities and luxury rental units above. 168 North Michigan, just next door, will convert an old bank building into a boutique hotel and a David Burke restaurant. 151 North Michigan, across from that site, they're already undergoing major upgrades to the retail storefronts on the first 2 floors of that building. So already we're seeing a benefit to this development on these 3 blocks of Michigan Avenue. And what I've been working to do is negotiate streetscaping improvements, greening of that stretch, and making it more welcoming to visitors and commuters. And I think all of that new activity and this new development will make that stretch more secure, and private property owners will have an incentive to keep it clean. So I'm looking forward to that transformation over the next 18 months. The Lakeshore East community, literally a village within a city. Tremendous amount of activity going on in that community in the 42nd Ward. They're already building Lakeshore East GEMS Academy. This will be a K through 12 facility within the Lakeshore East neighborhood, and they are, I believe, starting to take applications for that school now. Hyatt Regency spent a tremendous amount of money on Upper Wacker, completely repurposing their ballroom and meeting spaces and their front door, literally. And Patrick Donnelly and his team have done a tremendous job there. Radisson Blue in the iconic Aqua building is doing very, very well. And we have a new residential tower already underway by Magellan Development in that neighborhood. The Wacker Drive quarter is also seeing increased activity. There are plans now that we're reviewing to repurpose the Chicago Motor Club into a hotel development. The redevelopment of Hotel 71 into the Wyndham Hotel. Virgin Hotel coming to 203 North Wabash, Virgin's first hotel in the United States. And 111 West Wacker, the old Waterview Tower that Related Midwest has rescued from sitting dilapidated on our Wacker Drive for many, many years. Many people look to that structure as the symbol of the 2008 global recession here in Chicago, and they'll be delivering a new building in about a year. We also have exciting opportunities in the medical campus in Streeterville. We're close to having the outpatient care pavilion, the OCP, completed by Northwestern Memorial Hospital. Their employee garage and childcare facility is already up and running. A few months ago, we approved, after an intensive community review, a new facility for the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago, which will be a world-class facility that also offers tremendous public benefits and helps us address some traffic concerns in the neighborhood. We'll be landmarking 3 Northwestern-owned buildings: the Ward Building at 303 East Chicago Avenue, the Weibolt Hall at 339 East Chicago, Levy-Meyer Hall at 357 East Chicago. All will be landmarked and preserved. And while I'm sad to see Old Prentice go, that is planned to be the future site of a world-class research lab that will create thousands of new, well-paying jobs in downtown Chicago's 42nd Ward. 508 North Lakeshore Drive is a beautiful new residential building that has been delivered and is being tenanted as we speak. Optima just finished completing their first tower in Streeterville and are looking to get started on their second. The River East Arts Center near North Pier is going to be completely redeveloped into a residential structure within the skin of the building. And you can probably see it in front of the Sheraton Hotel's front door. We'll have a 75-story Lowe's Hotel in Streeterville very, very soon. Here in the River North neighborhood, as I mentioned, Mr. Friedman's triple hotel project, the Langham. The Godfrey Hotel is being developed, another half-finished structure that was a casualty of 2008. The Tokyo Hotel, which you all may be familiar with. It's a kind of dodgy-looking hotel. That place is going to be dramatically improved. It has new ownership, and they're going to put a lot of resource into upgrading that building dramatically. The Acme Hotel next door has already undergone a wonderful transformation. Habitat is topped off and is getting ready to deliver their residential tower across the street from the East Bank Club. The Wrigley Building's redevelopment, a tremendous success and now a Chicago landmark. They're ready now to tenant those spaces and are having good success. Another project Mr. Friedman worked on with Amley, the 50-story residential structure at Clark and Hubbard. They're also now in the process of tenanting that building, and certainly a beautiful cultural institution here in River North, the Poetry Foundation, has been delivered. Beautiful architecture, and if you get a chance, you should go and visit. As we continue to promote development and growth downtown, in addition to adding more transit-oriented development incentives, we also need to dramatically reduce parking requirements and prioritize and maximize the use of public benefits as density bonuses. There are all sorts of self-serving density bonuses in the zoning code. We really should narrow that down and maximize and prioritize the use of those bonuses that don't just benefit the developer, but also benefit the surrounding neighborhood and the traffic in that community. And as downtown's economy continues to build, we need to do more to push that development and investment into more neighborhoods across the city. When employers visit me to discuss proposals at City Hall, especially major employers, I always encourage them to make meaningful investments outside of the central business district here in Chicago to help spread opportunities to more areas of our city. But we need a real concerted effort to make that happen in any significant way. This sounds like a mission for a number of excellent civic organizations that could include World Business Chicago, the Chicagoland Chamber, and the Urban League. Hosting a regular summit of major and mid-sized employers could help jumpstart efforts to extend that investment further into Chicago neighborhoods. In order to support our growing convention and tourism industry, the opening of all these new small and mid-sized businesses, and the addition of thousands of new residential units and hotel keys, we need to do all that we can to strengthen public safety by putting more police officers on the street at every opportunity. I believe Mayor Emanuel made a strong choice in Police Superintendent Gary McCarthy. Superintendent McCarthy is a cop's cop, an effective leader of personnel, who has an impressive breadth of experience fighting crime and getting results. Despite improvements in the city's overall crime rate in many key areas, we are all troubled by headlines dominated with the news of tragic shootings and homicides, something that worries every Chicagoan regardless of where you live or work. It's reassuring to know the administration is committed to guaranteeing the department will remain at full strength at all times. And I'm glad CPD will be increasing the regularity of promotions and recruiting new classes of candidates. Mayor Emanuel and Superintendent McCarthy are working to find new ways to maximize the number of cops on the street and stretch resources in order to drive down the number of shootings and homicides in Chicago. The City Council supports these efforts. And as someone abundantly aware of the city's current fiscal condition, I know why the mayor's budgets cannot call for the hiring of hundreds of officers above and beyond our current rate of attrition. That said, today, I'm renewing my request that my supplemental off-duty cop program be heard in the City Council's Budget Committee, an ordinance that I introduced months ago. And here's how that ordinance would work. The ordinance would empower the Chicago Police Department to enter into a negotiation, an agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police to allow off-duty cops to be hired back at $30 to $35 an hour for a minimum 6-hour shift, to be in uniform with their guns, their badges, their radios, the whole shebang, to supplement existing active duty force levels in various geographies. This is not intended to only benefit downtown. This is a model, a template we're proposing for the entire city of Chicago. What would happen is a nonprofit group would either be formed, or a nonprofit group would adopt a fund. That fund would be created and it would receive charitable contributions from civic leaders, wealthy families, businesses that have a strong sense of corporate pride for Chicago. And that money would be pooled and then spent by the police department to add additional off-duty cops to supplement beat patrols. Many of our junior police officers in the department are moonlighting today. They aren't making enough to provide for large families, so they're taking up side work. They'll be guarding warehouses or jewelry shops, these sorts of things off hours, and frankly, they're making less money doing it. These people have professional training. The men and women of the police department are the best the country has, and we should have as many of them on the street as we possibly can. And I look at this as a win-win. Many of our younger officers don't have the seniority to win the bids to get the supplemental time and a half work that the tactical units are providing in some of the high crime areas in the city. So younger officers have nowhere to fall to get into a program like this. By allowing this new program to move forward, younger officers, newer to the force and in some cases more aggressive, will have an opportunity to supplement where we need these additional officers. This could be a model used in business quarters. This could be a model used in difficult high crime areas. It's really, truly a scalable model that can be custom tailored to address each neighborhood's specific needs. And for those concerned about certain neighborhoods not having the financial wherewithal to raise these funds, think about a major philanthropist or corporation giving the gift of public safety to a neighborhood experiencing tremendous challenges. I'm not suggesting this is a solution to our staffing issues at the police department, but I do think it's an excellent stopgap measure until the mayor and the city council are able to stabilize this struggling budget that we're wrestling with on an annual basis. We also want to make sure that we're being proactive in getting ahead of the warm weather season. We don't need to have an annual exercise where the warm weather comes and we have a disturbing incident or two downtown, and then 2 or 3 weeks of negative headlines, which don't help us with our tourism economy. Let's be prepared for that. Let's keep an eye on the weather and make sure we have the great force levels we've enjoyed this summer that have really given folks a good sense of security visiting our retail quarters downtown. Better planning, I think, can solve that issue. I think every neighborhood in Chicago benefits when we deploy more cops to the beat, and increased police visibility is something we need in every neighborhood. So hopefully programs like the one I've suggested will be approved this year, and perhaps my colleagues will find even new creative ways to add to that. I'm not going to talk about the budget as I mentioned, but I do want to say that one thing the city can do better, and it needs to be a priority, and I plan to spend a tremendous amount of time asking questions on this over the next several weeks, is frankly doing better with our regulatory and enforcement efforts. This does not mean create new fees or fines and play gotcha with businesses who are truly trying to do the right thing and provide for their employees. But for every good business we have in downtown Chicago, we have scofflaws and we have folks who don't want to obey the rules. And we have fines on the book. My colleagues, Alderman Moore, you know this, every month we're talking about enhancing penalties and the need for more enforcement. If we go and get the money simply owed to the city for major infractions, I think we'd be in much better economic shape than we are today. I want to understand how much of the money that's assessed in the initial fine actually ends up being received after a settlement is achieved with a bad business owner or someone who's willfully breaking the law. I can tell you those are two different numbers. And we really need to make sure that we're coordinating with the law department and the Department of Business Affairs and Revenue and the administrative hearing judges to make sure that when a guilty verdict is struck, the penalty sticks and that penalty is paid. There's all sorts of shell games being run in Chicago. There are certain industries that I'm not going to harp on today that when they reach a certain threshold of receiving fines and penalties, they simply dissolve their business, form a new LLC, change the name, and are open for business the next day with a clean bill of health. That sort of activity needs to end, and we need more accountability from the city on that front. So all in all, despite what you may hear from the naysayers and people who are critical of the city of Chicago and people who are predicting its demise, aka Detroit, I don't see that happening here. Everything I've just run through is just a snapshot, and that's just really a slice of the many exciting things that have been going on in downtown Chicago. And while there are other Midwest cities that are struggling and shrinking and facing crises, we certainly have our problems here in Chicago, but we have the bones and the foundation, certainly in the Central Business District, to weather this storm. And under Mayor Emanuel's excellent leadership, and with a lot of help from a talented bunch on the Chicago City Council, I think Chicago will be well positioned to succeed in the future. I want to thank you all for having me here today, and thanks again.
Good job. Alderman, thanks for that brief speech.
Is it dinner time yet?
Yeah, we normally have questions, but we also always have to adjourn on time. So I know there are a lot of questions out there. There are some. He probably missed a few corners, and so and he did put the CAA between Randolph and Michigan, Randolph and Wacker, which is a little stretch, but that's okay. I won't get even. But one last thing. When he first came here, he was an angry guy. This speech, he loves everybody. He just loves them all. How about a big round of applause? Great job.